Right, I'm going to talk about 400 years of Irish history in 5 minutes. That's going to cause me to cut some corners. So if I offend your political or religious sensibilities, please be assured I do not care. Right. Go. Anyway, let's start with Brad Pitt, because why not? He was in a film called The Devil's Own, where he played an IRA terrorist. And in the film, he said, if you say you understand Northern Ireland, you don't understand. So let's see how we get on with that. Anyway, hundreds of years ago, the British Isles, consisting of Great Britain and Ireland, were Roman Catholic. Now, along comes Henry VIII, and he famously wants a divorce, which means that Britain has to go Protestant, which obviously means that Ireland has to go Protestant too. So what does Henry do? He takes a load of Scottish Protestants, takes them over to Ireland, problem solved. Anyway, 200 years of violence later, we have 1690. Now, Catholic King Louis XIV of France has designs on ruling Europe. This offends the Pope because he thinks that's his job. So where am I? So anyway, the problem is England has a Catholic King, James II. English parliamentarians are a bit worried about that because they think he'll hand England to the French. So they get a Protestant Dutch prince, William of Orange, to come over to England and say, you be our Protestant king, which he does. James II then flees, abdicating his crown, and then he decides, actually, I want it back. So he goes to Ireland, obviously, and raises an army. William goes to Ireland with his army, and they meet at the River Boyne in Ireland. Battle is joined, William is victorious, James flees. The tragedy of the situation is the Battle of the Boyne was a battle fought with the blessing of the Pope by a Protestant Dutchman about France for the English that just happened to be in Ireland. Anyway, fast forward through a couple of hundred years more of violence, 1916 rising in Dublin. A couple of Irish rebels take control of some buildings in Dublin and declare, rather optimistically, an Irish Republic. The rebellion is quelled with typically brutal English justice, and which inspires a much more successful Irish War of Independence, which is then settled by the Treaty of Ireland. Now, I'm well behind myself now, aren't I? Anyway, so the Treaty of Ireland results in the Irish Free State. Now, the Irish Free State included at that time Northern Ireland, but also included a clause allowing the Protestant northern counties to exit the Irish Free State, which they promptly did, turning what was just a line on a map into a hard international border, which didn't work. Anyway, the British turned up, militarized the border, and it all got fucked up from there. That was just me catching up, by the way. Anyway, on both sides there's Protestants on one side, and every summer the Orangemen, so-called because of the Orange Order, so-called because of William Orange, who you mentioned earlier, and they march every summer, and you can see him up there, that's him. And they also, the night before the 12th of July, they have lots of bonfires. It's an opportunity to burn lots of pallets and also effigies of Sinn Féin politicians and the Pope and the Irish flag, obviously. Orangemen see this as an expression of their Protestant faith and traditions. Critics see it as sectarian, triumphalist, and supremacist. Anyway, on the other side is the Catholics, and they have the IRA and Sinn Féin. IRA obviously committed terrible atrocities, including the bombing of Omagh, where 29 people were killed and 220 people were injured. Despite the carnage, the 1980s and 1990s saw a gradual, slow movement towards a political settlement in Northern Ireland, which actually, the Good Friday Agreement, which actually led to the decommissioning of weapons on both sides, the decommissioning of border posts and opening roads and generally good things. In fact, the border is now so soft and open that 177,000 trucks and 250,000 vans pass over the border every month with no problems. Yay, brilliant, normal in Northern Ireland. Brexit. Fuck, all right. So the Unionists won't accept a European border down the Irish Sea, so the only alternative, barring an absolute fucking miracle, Jesus, is a hard border. the return of violence, the return of division between the communities, absolute economic fucking ruin. In Ireland, people don't want that. Anyway, I'll leave you with a picture of the Irish flag. Not a lot of people know this. This flag is supposed to represent, sorry, I'm being serious now. This flag is supposed to represent a inclusion in the island, with the white representing a lasting peace between the green and the orange. We can only hope. Thank you very much.